Hey there, Orioles fans. Today is Wednesday, May 25th, 2022, and welcome back in to the Locked On Orioles podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, I'm your host, Connor Newcomb, and coming up on today's episode, we recap a tough extra innings loss for the Orioles. The magic in extras finally runs out for the O's as they fall 7-6 in 11 innings at Yankee Stadium on Tuesday night. I'll break down what went wrong for the Orioles in the walk-off loss and give you the 5 things you need to know from the Orioles loss in the Bronx. Then we'll talk a little bit about some Orioles minor league news. They made some pretty big promotions on Monday at different levels of the minor leagues, some top prospects moving up in some of those areas. And then, of course, when that happens, you also release some players. We'll talk about the 3 minor leaguers that the Orioles let go as well. But that's all coming up on this episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast.
You are Locked On Orioles, your daily Baltimore Orioles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So we'll jump right into it here on today's episode. A little somber as I record this one just minutes after the walk-off hit by Jose Trevino with the Yankees beating the Orioles 7-6 in 11 innings on Tuesday night to even the 3-game series at 1 game apiece. Orioles with the loss fall to 18-26 on the season, and it's their first extra inning loss somehow of the year. And I'm going to get you the 5 things you need to know from the Orioles loss. And first, let's start with, extra innings just didn't play out like the Orioles wanted for the first time this year. They roll into the 10th inning in a 5-5 game, and things just didn't go their way in the top of the 10th. Jorge Mateo tried to get a bunt down, wasn't able to do it, and then started to swing away, which I was fine with, but he missed a hanging breaking ball, and then he struck out to start the inning, and you just cannot strike out to start the extra innings with the zombie runner on second. And then Cedric Mullins and Trey Mancini each hit the ball pretty hard, but found fielder's gloves, and it ends the 10th with no runs in. You think, this game's over, bottom of the 10th inning. Here come, some of the big boppers for the Yankees, and in comes Dylan Tate. Dylan Tate does a heck of a job in getting out of the inning. It started with Aaron Judge, who hits a fly ball to the warning track in right field for the first out. Aaron Hicks tags up and goes to third. They intentionally walk Anthony Rizzo, and then they got to face Estevan Florial in that spot because Giancarlo Stanton had left earlier in the game with some calf tightness, and that worked out. Florial hits a ground ball to short. Jorge Mateo makes a perfect throw home. Adley Rutschman makes a perfect tag, and they get Hicks out at the plate, and then Tate is able to strike out Gleyber Torres, who had really just killed the Orioles all night, had 2 home runs in the game, but Tate gets Torres, and you go to the 11th, and you're thinking, all right, now it's time to lock in. The O's get a run on the Austin Hayes ground out that scores Ryan McKenna, gives them a 6-5 lead in the top of the 11th. They're not able to add any more. And they go to the bottom of the 11th. And, unfortunately for the O's, they had to use a guy like Brian Baker, who's been struggling a little bit over his last few appearances. He's pitched a lot lately through 2 innings on Sunday. But I don't really think Brandon Hyde had another choice than to go to Brian Baker. And, of course, it just did not go well. He got a fly out to start the inning, and then it went RBI single to tie the game at 6. Then another single from Marwin Gonzalez. It was Isaiah Kiner-Falefa that tied the game. Gonzalez singles, and then Jose Trevino hits a walk-off single down the third base line to walk it off. And Trevino, who just killed the Orioles tonight, 3 for 4 with a home run, 2 singles, 3 RBIs, a walk as well. He dominated the O's as the Yankees' backup catcher out of the 9 spot. He's had some big hits against the O's this year, but at the end of the day, that one hurt for the O's. But again, in that 11th inning, they really didn't have anybody else to go to. Even though Bruce Zimmermann gave them 6 1/3, which we'll talk about, they used Gillespie. They'd already used Keegan Akin for 2 1/3. And Dylan Tate had pitched a scoreless top of the 10th. Now, he did only throw 10 pitches, so theoretically, you could have tried Dylan Tate back out there for the 11th, but you don't want to burn him for tomorrow's game. I think I was fine with using Baker in that spot. And when you look down at the bullpen, you would think, oh, why didn't the Orioles go to one of their closing options this year? Well, Jorge Lopez was not available, and Felix Bautista was not available. Both of those guys had pitched 4 of the last 5 days coming into this game, and both were unavailable in this one. So, the O's had Baker available. I mean, Cionel Perez was an option, but remember, he pitched 2 innings on Sunday, and there really, there wasn't any lefties coming up in the inning that Perez, could try and dominate in the 11th. So it was really Perez or Baker, because the rest of your options were, guys like Bo Salser and Marcos Duplan, who had just been called up, on Monday. And Salser hasn't pitched with the O's this year. Duplan's pitched in just 1 game out of the bullpen for the Orioles. You certainly were not giving either of them a save situation in Yankee Stadium. And Brian Baker had 11 saves in AAA Buffalo when he was with the Blue Jays system in 2021. So at the end of the day, he was your best option. It just didn't work out. He didn't make good pitches. He got ahead of Kiner Falefa 0-2 when it was still a 6-5 game with a runner on third and 1 out. Thought he should have been able to put him away with a strikeout. Didn't. Kiner Falefa battled, then poked the single up the middle. And, he got beat by 7, 8, 9 in the lineup. You just can't let that happen. But it is what it is, and the Orioles lose via the walk-off. But the second thing you need to know from this one is that it's kind of a weird start from Bruce Zimmermann in this game. Now, on the high point of this one is he got the most outs of his career, goes 6 1/3 innings, longest start of his career, allowing 4 runs on 6 hits, 5 strikeouts, no walks, but 4 solo home runs allowed. Those were basically the only blemishes he allowed. It was 4 solo homers and 2 singles. And again, no walks in the game. Those were his only 6 base runners. And, you always talk about, well, the solo home run's not going to beat you. Well, if you do give up 4 of them, sometimes it does really start to beat you. And, one was hit by Rizzo. That ball was just, tattooed into the seats in right field in the first inning. 2 were hit by Gleyber Torres, who, after hitting approximately 1 million home runs against the Orioles in 2019, hadn't homered against the O's since 2019 until Tuesday night's game when he goes yard twice. And of course, as we mentioned, Jose Trevino hits the one that actually ended up not taking Zimmermann out of the game, but, I felt like hurt a little bit more that he gave up one to Trevino. It was the home run to Torres that took Zimmermann out of the game in the 7th. But, he still didn't walk anybody. He still struck out 5. He had 9 whiffs on 85 pitches, 46 swings. He, to be fair to him, didn't go crazy heavy on the fastball. 24 changeups, 23 sliders, 19 four-seamers, 12 curveballs, and 7 sinkers. Now, if you add the four-seamer and the sinker, that's 26 fastballs, which still barely would be his most used pitch if you combine his 2 different fastballs that he used. But the fastball did kind of get smoked, while the slider was good on the night. The changeup was solid on the night. He got 4 whiffs on that slider. It was working especially to lefties, got a couple of strikeouts with the curveball. Just kind of a weird start. And listen, he's given up 8 earned runs in 11 2/3 innings over his last 2 starts. Both have been, of course, against a right-handed heavy, very, very good New York Yankees lineup in both those games. But just a weird start with the solo homers. There was positives, there was negatives to take away. We'll see how Zimmermann bounces back in his next start. But the third thing you need to know from this one is that Keegan Akin, I think this is just who he is, kind of a fireman, 2 to 3 inning reliever who, Kevin Brown said it on the broadcast when Akin came in, one of the best relievers in baseball. Is it true? He's pitched the most innings in relief in Major League Baseball this year, and he's done it to a 1.23 ERA now. Akin came in with some traffic on the bases in the 7th inning and got a big strikeout to keep the game tied at 5 with 2 on and 2 out, and then finish off the rest of, the 9 innings. He pitched 2 1/3, scoreless and hitless. Now, the command eluded him a little bit in the 9th inning when he walked back-to-back batters, and he ended up walking 3, but he struck out 6. 6 of his 7 outs were via the strikeout through 39 pitches, did not have a hard hit ball against him, and it was just utter dominance, except for in the bottom of the 9th after he got 2 strikeouts. He walked back-to-back batters, but locked back in and got a K, and it was, heavy on the fastball again, 22 fastballs, 9 changeups, and 8 sliders. He got 10 whiffs on the day on 13 swings. Think about that. Yankees hitters swung at 13 of his 39 pitches. They swung through 10 of them. They fouled off 2 of them. They only put 1 ball in play against Keegan Akin. Ridiculous. Here's an even crazier stat. He threw 22 four-seam fastballs, okay? 6 of them were called strikes. 8 of them were swung at. All 8 of those fastballs that were swung at by Yankees hitters were swung and missed. 8 whiffs on 8 swings on the four-seam fastball, which sat at about 94 and maxed out at 96 on the night for Keegan Akin. I mean, that is elite. That's a 64% CSW. 30 is considered good on any pitch. It was ridiculous. He got 2 more whiffs on the changeup. I mean, this is the guy he is. He's getting lefties. He's getting righties. After the debacle that was 2021, it is now fun to watch Keegan Akin pitch. Fourth thing you need to know from this one is that Rougned Odor delivered the blow that I thought would be the game winner. And, the question is anyone hotter than Rougned Odor right now for the Orioles? Now, he only had the 1 hit in the game, but it was a big one. The go-ahead 3-run homer in the top of the 7th inning that put a bow on a 4-run inning for the O's that gave them a 5-3 lead at the time. And all the damage came against Michael King, who has kind of been the Yankees version of Keegan Akin this year, the fireman long reliever who's gotten everyone out, but he allowed 3 runs and only recorded 2 outs in this game. And he just wasn't very good. After Austin Hayes led off the 7th inning with a solo homer off of starter Jordan Montgomery to make it a 3-2 game, knocked him out of the game. O's got a couple of hits, and then Rougned Odor into the first row in right field, a 3-run homer to give the O's the lead. Of course, it would only have been a home run in Yankee Stadium per StatCast, but he knocked the ball out of there for another home run. He also had an RBI earlier in the game with an RBI ground out in the 5th that got the Orioles on the board and made it a 3-1 game. He was only 1 for 4, but he didn't strike out. He had another hard hit ball besides the home run. It's a 9-game hitting streak now for Rougned Odor. Just put him in the lineup, and he's out there against righties and lefties. It was a lefty starter in Montgomery for the Yankees tonight. Odor was right out there doing work. He's earned everyday playing time at this point for the Orioles. And the 5th and final thing you need to know is that, of course, the reason this game even went to extra innings is because the Orioles did not hold that 5-3 lead for long. Of course, they gave up 2 runs in the bottom of the 7th as the Yankees quickly tied the game at 5. And they both came off of Logan Gillespie, who, at the end of the day, or I should say one of the 2 came off of Logan Gillespie, but who at the end of the day just kind of had his first struggles at the major league level. Of course, he threw 3 2/3 scoreless innings last week in his first 2 appearances, was set down, then called right back up when Spencer Watkins went on the IL, and he just did not have the stuff that he needed. He retired the first batter he faced, came in with the bases empty, 1 out in the 7th in a 5-4 game, got a ground out, so there was 2 outs, nobody on, 5-4, and then he just kind of lost it and gave up a couple of hits and left the game at that point. And Keegan Akin had to come in and clean up his mess. But really the worst part of it was, he gives up a 2-out single to Connor Falefa. And again, it was 7-8-9 that killed the Orioles in this inning. Gives up a 2-out single to Connor Falefa, the 7-man. Then he gets 0-2 on Marwin Gonzalez and hits him with a pitch. So there's 2 on. Then he goes 0-2 to Jose Trevino and throws a fastball 0-2 right down the middle that Trevino just dunks into right field for an RBI single to tie the game. And so for Gillespie, you knew he was going to have a rough appearance at some point. It comes at Yankee Stadium in a really big moment, definitely the most high-pressure situation that he's pitched in so far this year. And, he's not going to have those all the time. He's going to have good appearances as well, but it's just kind of the welcome to the big leagues moment for Gillespie, and it came at a tough time. And, again, just a tough loss for the Orioles and a tough one to swallow, but they will go for the series on Wednesday. Hopefully they can win it. You felt like they kind of let this one slip away. Would have been a nice one to win, but Orioles fall 7-6 in 11 innings on the Jose Trevino walk-off single off Brian Baker, and the series now tied at 1 game apiece. But in terms of the minor league level for the Orioles, they had another pretty good night on Tuesday, and they had some players in different places as some Orioles prospects were moved around the minor leagues. A lot of guys got promotions on Monday. And coming up next, we'll talk about which guys moved up and what they did at their previous levels to earn those minor league promotions. But first, let's talk about LinkedIn, because with spring in the air, it's a time of renewal and growth, personally and professionally. And as your small business grows, LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. You can create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond. to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people, including myself. Then you can add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. And this is why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus the leading competitors. So, LinkedIn Jobs, it helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So the Orioles fall to the New York Yankees 7-6 in 11 innings, their first extra inning loss of the year. But at the minor league level, it was all good vibes early this week as a lot of Orioles prospects found out they were getting promoted, heading up to the next level on Monday during the minor league off day. I wanted to run through these 6 players who got promotions for the Orioles. It was really 5 guys who got true promotions and another guy who moved up a level on a rehab assignment, but it was all positive stuff for the O's. So let's start with the biggest name included here, and that is César Prieto, who got his first promotion with the Orioles. Of course, the Orioles signed Prieto out of Cuba on the international market earlier this year, kind of a late signing guy who, many thought would be a pretty good signing for the O's. Really good hit tool, was a batting champion in Cuba. And, we had Phil Seelig on the pod from Cuba Dugout to talk about Prieto's time in Cuba and what he could bring to the O's. And, we talked about would he start in Double-A or High-A. Well, the Orioles decided to start him in High-A Aberdeen this year, and he just lit the world on fire. He was clearly too good for that level. His stats in 26 games and just over 100 at-bats in Aberdeen, a 337 average, 376 on base, and a 604 slugging, 7 homers, and 6 doubles. Now, he did strike out 16 times, which isn't a big number, but only 5 walks, a little concerning, but we kind of knew this from his days in Cuba. He didn't walk, he didn't strike out, he put the ball in play consistently. And that's kind of what he did here in the States for the first time in Aberdeen, and he got the call up to Double-A Bowie, which made it an even more stacked infield in Bowie. You've got Jordan Westberg, you've got Gunnar Henderson, you've got Joey Ortiz, you've got César Prieto, and you've got Adam Hall in the mix. And Bowie, despite losing 7-1 to Erie on Tuesday night, was able to get all 5 of those guys in the lineup. One of them DH'd, and Adam Hall played the outfield, as he's done a lot this year. And Prieto went 1 for 4 with a single in his Double-A debut. So definitely something to continue to watch. But good for César Prieto, a guy who, many think, including myself, can be an impact player at the big leagues sooner rather than later, much older than many other international signings and a really intriguing hit tool. So going to be fun to see him face a lot better competition here moving forward at the Double-A level. Now, Prieto was the only guy who went up to Double-A, but there were a couple guys who went from Delmarva up to High-A Aberdeen. The first guy was someone who probably deserved this promotion earlier, but gets it now, and that is Darell Hernaiz, who was the Orioles' 5th-round pick back in 2019, and is basically, they picked him out of high school, and he's basically been at Delmarva since then. And, word was he was a little upset that he didn't start the year at Aberdeen after a pretty solid full season at Delmarva last year, but he picked up right where he left off, and his stats got better with the Shorebirds this season. 32 games, 138 plate appearances for Hernaiz in Low-A Delmarva. Hit .283 with a 341 on base, a 512 slugging, 6 homers, and 7 doubles. Perfect 9 for 9 stealing bases. And he earned his promotion. And obviously a spot had to open up, it seemed. And that spot opened when Prieto, an infielder, goes up to Double-A. And Hernaiz takes his spot in Single-A. He also went 1 for 4 with a single, a strikeout, and a run scored in Aberdeen's win on Tuesday night in his debut. So good for Darell, who, maybe doesn't get looped in with these top infield prospects the O's have, like Westberg, Henderson, and Ortiz, but he's kind of in a second tier there that still definitely has some potential in the future and a guy to definitely watch. And then the other guy who went from Delmarva to Aberdeen was another pitcher in Alex Pham, the right-hander, who the Orioles took in the 19th round out of the University of San Francisco in the 2021 draft. And Pham came into Delmarva this year and just dominated. 6 appearances out of the Shorebirds bullpen. He had a 1.59 ERA. In 11 1/3 innings, he allowed just 2 runs on 8 hits, struck out 15 batters and walked 7, a 190 batting average against. And he gets the call up to high A Aberdeen. Now, did not pitch in his first game there on Tuesday night for the Ironbirds, but some interesting stuff. Kind of a smaller guy on the mound. Pham is not a big, like, assuming, right-hander, but he's got some really, really good stuff and some good strikeout stuff, and interesting to see him pitch out of the Aberdeen bullpen. Then we got two guys who were in extended spring training who got the call up to full season ball in Delmarva. The first was the big one in Carter Baumler, who, if you remember, the right-handed pitcher Baumler was the Orioles' 5th-round pick back in the shortened 2020 draft. Orioles took him out of high school, and when they saved some money early with Heston Kjerstad, they gave a lot of that money to Kobe Mayo, but they also gave some of that overslot money to Carter Baumler to get him to sign in the 5th round and not go to college. And we haven't seen any of Baumler at all. You're wondering, where has he been? He was drafted in 2020. Well, pretty soon after, a couple months after the draft, he had to get Tommy John surgery. So, of course, he gets Tommy John late in 2020. He misses the entirety of the 2021 minor league season, where he probably would have spent most of the year at the FCL anyway. But he gets back healthy this year. He pitches at extended spring training a few times, and the Orioles say it's time to go. They promote him to Delmarva. Now, again, he did not pitch Tuesday night, but is scheduled to start one of the games for Delmarva this week. They are down in Charleston, South Carolina, and it'll be exciting to see Carter Baumler finally get on the mound at full season ball for the first time after that exciting draft pick. He's got some really good stuff, and he's still a long ways away. He's still 20 years old, but this is going to be a fun pick from the O's. And then the other guy who went from extended spring to Delmarva, Elio Prado, the outfielder, who you may remember from the Andrew Cashner trade when the Orioles sent Cashner to the Red Sox in that deal at the deadline in 2019. They got Noelberth Romero, who has been playing solid at Delmarva this year. And they also got the outfielder Elio Prado, who has really struggled with injury since coming to the Orioles. Now, he joined the Orioles Dominican Summer League team in 2019, hit .298 with a .405 on base in 26 games there in 2019. Then he got hurt. Of course, no minor league season in 2020, missed all of the 2021 minor league season, and is finally healthy and back. He gets promoted to Delmarva, and definitely excited to see what Prado can do in the Delmarva lineup, because frankly, we've seen Romero a little bit, we've seen Prado. Maybe one of those two guys from that Andrew Cashner trade can turn out to be something kind of useful for the Orioles. And I know that trade, sent itself into a meme with the that seals the deal, but Prado is now at full season ball, and he went 1 for 3 with 2 walks and a single, hitting second in the order in his Delmarva debut on Tuesday night. So fun to see him out there. Then the last promotion was a guy on a rehab assignment, and that is Dean Cramer, who, of course, if you remember, made the Orioles opening day roster, was warming up in the bullpen in Tampa in the 3rd game of the season to make his season debut, felt something in his side, sat down, didn't enter the game. Turned out it was an oblique issue, went right on the injured list, and we haven't seen him since. Well, he had a good 3-inning start last week at Bowie on rehab. Then he gets moved up to Norfolk and pitches again on Tuesday night on rehab there, and absolutely dominates. 3 innings as he got the start, no runs, no hits, 6 strikeouts. His only base runner was a walk that he allowed in 3 almost perfect innings. It was really good to see the strikeout stuff from Dean Cramer. And I know that he's only pitched 3 innings in each of his outings, and the O's are going to want to extend him out more before he comes to the big leagues. But the O's certainly need a starter for one of those Saturday doubleheader games in Boston. Maybe you can bring up Dean Cramer and just try to get 3 or 4 innings out of him and then make it kind of an abbreviated bullpen game. Could happen. He is on the 40-man roster. It would make it easier to make that move, but just good to see Dean, after his struggles last year, pitch well in these first 2 rehab appearances. But of course, when guys get moved up the ladder in the minors, eventually guys get released. It's just the unfortunate part of the minor league system. And the O's did release 3 players from the system as well. And one name who Orioles fans especially do know, and we're a little surprised to see get taken off the AAA roster. We'll talk about who that was coming up in just a second. So the Orioles made a lot of promotions at the minor league level on Monday, but it meant they had to release 3 players, unfortunately, as well. And the first guy they released is kind of the big name from this group, and that is the right-hander Ofelky Peralta, who has had a roller coaster ride through the Orioles system. He started pitching with Baltimore in the Dominican Summer League all the way back in 2014. He has been around for a long, long time. And finally, he broke through in the system in 2021. He was seemingly stuck at single A for a long time, could not get up to double A, finally does in 2021, and then gets to triple A. And between those two levels, he threw 93 innings, had a 4.73 ERA with good strikeout numbers in 2021. And we thought, okay, Peralta has a chance to make the big leagues in 2022 if he keeps it up. But he did not keep it up. Again, started the year at AAA Norfolk this year, and it's just been a disaster for Peralta. 15 2/3 innings for the Tides. He has a 10.34 ERA on the season. He's walked 14 batters in 15 2/3 innings and struck out just 9. And the Orioles looked around, looked at the pitching coming up behind him, looked at the pitching already needing innings in Norfolk, and decided to make the move. It's really unfortunate for a guy who's been around the system for so long and built things up so well last year, but it just did not go well this season. They had to make a tough decision, and Peralta was released. Hopefully he can sign on somewhere and hopefully get that major league debut that he's been working for so long with another organization. And then the O's released another pitcher from AAA Norfolk. David LeBron was the other guy released. Now, he was another guy who had a breakout season in 2021. O's acquired him in a minor league deal from the Rangers back in 2019. And last year, he excelled in AA and AAA combined, 73 innings, had a 3.56 ERA with really good strikeout numbers. But this year, I'm not sure if there was injury or what happened, but he made his season debut on April 7th for the Tides, recorded just 1 out, and allowed 6 runs on 6 hits. Left the game after 1 out, has not pitched since, and then was released on Monday. So not sure if it was injury related or what happened there, but had a disastrous outing. We hadn't seen him since, and he gets released again. We wish David the best in his baseball future if he wants to continue playing, but it's kind of a weird situation there with how his time with the Orioles ended. And then the last guy they released was a lower minor league player. It was Josue Cruz, the outfielder who spent this year in Delmarva and just was not hitting, was getting a little older than his teammates, was getting passed by in the lineup. 110 plate appearances, just a 132 batting average for the Shorebirds for Cruz this year. He was released as well. And again, we wish him the best as well in his future baseball endeavors. But those were the minor league moves for the Orioles on Monday, and it ended up with a couple of wins at the minor league level as well. Couldn't quite get that major league win with the tough loss for the O's in 11 innings. But the Orioles can try to come back and win the series here on Wednesday in the Bronx, as they are going to send Tyler Wells to the mound for a 7:05 start at Yankee Stadium. Wells in his 8 starts has a 4.41 ERA on the season. And the last time we saw Tyler Wells was Friday night against the Rays. He pitched 4 hitless innings and then allowed a 3-run homer to Mike Zunino in the 5th. Ended up lasting 4 2/3, 3 runs, 2 hits, 4 Ks, and 2 walks for Tyler Wells. We'll see if the big righty can get things going again at Yankee Stadium. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster for him lately. And then on the other side, the Yankees will be making essentially a spot start. The 26-year-old left-hander J.P. Sears is going to make the start here in this one. He's pitched in 2 games in relief for the Yankees already this year. He's got 2 innings, 2 strikeouts, has not allowed a run, and has allowed 2 hits. But he actually has pitched against the Orioles this year. He has not pitched in the big since April 16th, but that was April 16th in Baltimore when he threw a scoreless inning, allowing 2 hits and a walk, but he got a strikeout and somehow got out of the inning without allowing a run. He's been in AAA since, but the Yankees calling him back up to make a spot start Wednesday. Again, he's pitched 2 one-inning outings, so who knows how long he's going to last for the Yankees. Hopefully the Orioles can jump on that chance and win a series in the Bronx. And then I'll be back with you here on the pod tomorrow, coming back on Thursday, and we're finally going to take a look at the Bowie Bay Sox in our Orioles minor league season preview series, as Matt Sabados, the new play-by-play voice of the Bowie Bay Sox, the Orioles AA affiliate, will be joining us to talk all things Bowie. We'll talk about some of the great players that are in Bowie this season, like Gunnar Henderson, Jordan Westberg, and really everybody who has been raking for the Bay Sox, and talk about who we could see potentially of those guys in the majors for the Orioles soon. But again, that's coming up on tomorrow's episode. Until then, I'm Connor Newcomb, and this has been the Locked On Orioles podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.